Hi everyone, my name is Erik Adler and today I want to read an excerpt to you from my first fantasy novel, which is called White Lights. I published it in self-publishing with Create Space for the print version and Kindle Direct Publishing for the ebook version in June of 2016. And this is a fantasy novel for adults belonging to the genre of portal fantasy. Portal fantasy means that a person or persons go through some kind of portal, normally by means of some kind of magic, and they come to a secondary world where they experience different kinds of adventures, and if they are lucky they may perhaps return to our world as well. It started off as a thriller actually. I wanted to write a thriller, but then I wrote down a dream that my protagonist had, and it was so inspiring, so fun to read it, and there was suddenly quite another flow in what I was writing. So I decided to write more dreams, and it turned out to become a novel about dreams. This first volume consists of 10 chapters, and each of these chapters is a dream, and in between there are shorter chapters where the protagonist is awake, thinking about his dreams and associating what he experienced in this dream world to his real life. And there's a prologue and an epilogue, and the prologue I want to read to you today. I translated it into English for you. And please bear in mind that English is not my mother tongue and it hasn't been checked yet by a mother speaker, so there may be some mistakes or some formulations that are not that good. We'll see. You're welcome to leave your comments in the comments section if you liked it, what you liked, what you didn't like, if you have any tips how to improve the text. And now we'll listen to these first 5 pages of the book, and I wish you much fun. White Lights, the crisis of modern day men. O God of battles, steel my soldiers' hearts. Possess them not with fear, take from them now the sense of reckoning. If the opposed numbers, pluck their hearts from them. Not today, O Lord, oh not today. Think not upon the fault my father made, encompassing the crown. I Richard's body have interred anew, and on it have bestowed more contrite tears than from it issued forced drops of blood. 500 poor I have in yearly pay, who twice a day their withered hands hold up toward heaven to pardon blood. And I have built 2 chantries where the sad and solemn priests sing still for Richard's soul. More will I do, though all that I can do is nothing worth, since that my penitence comes after all, imploring pardon. William Shakespeare, The Life of Henry V, Act 4, Scene 1. This book is not autobiographical. The protagonist's personality and his experiences are very different from those of the author. The author wishes to distance himself from any comparison with himself or with other living persons. Prologue. The employment agent opened the door and beckoned the young man to enter. Somewhat hesitantly he came in and sat down. The employment agent looked at the man's broad shoulders and slim waist and tried to suppress his envy. The fact that his desk hid his belly gave him a sense of relief. The job seeker produced a blue folder from his bag. The employment agent opened it and began to read. Study of Marine Engineering, Navy Sergeant. What exactly did you do? I was deployed on a submarine based at the North Sea. Oh yes, here it is. And then you spent 5 years at home watering the plants. I was taking care of my daughter. How the hell did a soldier, tall and strong, end up as a house husband? Something about the man was wrong. The energy and alertness of the sportsman was missing. He seemed unconcentrated and despondent, like somebody who's tried for a long time to remember something important, has finally given up on it, but nonetheless still wants to remember. You're divorced? Not yet officially. Your wife were working? The man nodded. So you didn't have to work. And what will you do now? Are you going back to the Navy? I've been out of it for so long. He fell silent. Yet another dreamer, not knowing what he wanted, although in his mid-30s. Like a young, intelligent but immature arts scholar, imprisoned in a world of ideals that could never become reality. Only that art scholars weren't usually built like Schwarzenegger. After all, they were scholars of the mind, not of the body. The employment agent knew arts scholars all too well, and he had enough of them. He hated their way of lurching into his office, always wearing the same old torn jerseys, and the dead stare. Social misfits living in their heads. Perhaps it was time to give up his job and move to the country, becoming a beekeeper or growing vegetables. This man, however, was a strange hybrid, a strong but dreamy soldier, unconventional, even abnormal, something that ought not to exist, like a crying president or an insane astronaut. Apart from his physique, the man resembled the ash-blonde Norwegian philosopher from 2 weeks past. The Norwegian, dressed in a blue and red jersey, holes at the elbows, had told him in a frail voice that he had done theoretical philosophy in Norway, that he had come to Munich because of his German girlfriend, and that he was looking for work. On the employment agent's question whether not all philosophy was theoretical, he had answered that owing to the influence of Immanuel Kant, the subject was divided into theoretical and practical philosophy in Norway, and that he was a theoretical philosopher, in his case meaning specializing on Heidegger. The employment agent had not inquired any further. He was familiar with scholars and did not want a lecture on Heidegger, who, as far as he knew, had been a Nazi while having an affair with a Jewish female student, although being married. Although he now knew what a theoretical philosopher was like, he had no idea whatsoever what practical philosophy might mean. But what he could well imagine was this strange man, in his simple grey jumper, slightly worn out at the cuffs, in the role of a practical philosopher, half intellectual, half muscle man. The employment agent smiled. His pun made him feel intelligent. Then he met the stranger's dead gaze. Any ideas what you may do? Perhaps something in technology? Please understand, my wife, she just left me. That on top of it. This idiot really looked like somebody who couldn't keep a wife. The employment agent stroked his forehead. Give it a thought, all right? Come back to us when you've made up your mind. Perhaps your ex-wife is able to support you financially. What does she do? She's the CEO of a pharmaceutical company. The employment agent raised his eyebrows. Then you should be able to collect a few grand. The man didn't answer. I assume you are informed about your rights. The other did not seem to understand. The employment agent sighed, looked at the documents and began to enter information into his computer. The job seeker's gaze fell upon a small pewter figurine on the desk. Absent-mindedly he reached for it and weighed it in his hand. Years ago the employment agent had received the figurine as a gift from his then employer, after having successfully closed an important deal. The employment agent hated the statue, but he kept it in his office purely out of politeness. After having found another job, it took him a while to realize why his new desk seemed so empty, despite the calendar and a family photograph. The next day he brought the figurine to the office, put it on his desk, and everything felt all right again. The man looked closer at the figurine. All of a sudden his confusion was gone. His eyes came alive with light. His face shone. There was fascination and intelligence. Finally, something had pulled him out of his lethargy, the employment agent thought. He printed out the pages and gave them to the man, who put the figurine back in its place, took the papers and his documents, and left. The employment agent sat still for a moment. Then he laid the figurine in front of him. It was a knight with sword and spear. He wore chainmail, boots, tunic, and helmet. He was looking into the far distance, his face resolute. Suddenly, the employment agent realized that he was freezing. The pewter warrior's face was that of the job seeker.